questions to ask throughout a campaign with the confidence rising. I told WDF don't switch, good times are coming on even deep diving. Fan cams, reactions, watch along, still the pride of London thriving. The Eagles of South they flying, keep your eyes on us, we ain't hiding.
Yes, guys, welcome back to TACT Eagle. This is the show we tell you the tactics, what we think will happen in our upcoming game. This is the TACT Eagle for our away trip to the Emirates versus Arsenal. Joined here by my normal co-host Dan. How you doing, my friend?
Yeah, I'm all good. The reason why I'm still all good is because the Brighton game hasn't happened yet, so that's why I'm still feeling good. But yeah, how are you?
All good. Took a long time to set up this one, in my opinion, but I'm also here joined with Rich, who's not a normal co-host in this stream. How you doing?
I'm good. Like, honestly, credit to you both, man. The work that you've been doing with this show, I'm learning a lot. You know, I've never really been a stats guy. I'm always eye test, but to obviously put context to the eye test, you need the stats as well. So it's good. I'm loving it. I'm learning as well.
Cool. Let's kick it straight off with how we normally do it. We're going to go through our predicted lineups and how we think the Arsenal will line up. So, here we go. Here is where I believe we'll line up. I think we'll go 4-3-3 with Gaeta in goal, Mitchell left back, Gay centre back, Anderson, Klein, with Decore sitting, with Schlapp and Ahamada in the 8 role, with Zaha out left, Elise out right, with Odsonne Edouard through the middle. Dan, do you agree?
That is literally exactly the same as what I had. Only difference for me would be if Maka or Hughes are available, I'd play them over Schlapp, but I don't know if they are.
Yeah, I think because of as it is right now, because we're recording this on the 14th, Maka and Hughes are both ill. I think they are, so they might be back for the Arsenal game. But as we're standing right now, we're putting Schlapp in there. Rich, would you start this 11 or would you change anything?
You know what? With the fact that Arsenal tend to struggle against runners, I would be inclined to put Eze in for this game.
For who?
Now, I'm going to be a massive hypocrite here. I don't like Wolf up top. But just for this game, just for the running purpose, maybe Wolf up top and Eze on the left. I might change my mind on this.
So like this.
Yeah. I think Zaha played against Ben White beginning of the season, and Ben White had a very good game. I think Eze is a bit more unpredictable with his dribbling style, I'd say. So he may give White a few more problems. Don't quote me on that.
All right. I think for how I've set this up and how I believe the tactics will go, I still think that Zaha would be the better option here, but there's no reason why we can't change to that kind of tactic later on in the game. Maybe even put I don't know, maybe Zaha or even maybe just straight swap Schlapp for Eze and then make Ahamada pull back a little bit and switch formations. Like, everything can happen depending on how the game's going. However, when looking at Arsenal's team, I believe they only have 2 injuries. I think El Neni and El Neni and Nketiah are the only 2 that are injured right now.
Mm-hmm.
And Jesus is just nursing back from his long-term injury. So this is what I believe that Arsenal will play. I think they'll play Ramsdale in goal, with Zinchenko, Gabriel, Saliba and Ben White at the back, with Xhaka and Partey in the holding midfield roles with Odegaard in the 10, Saka out right, Martinelli out left, and Trossard up front. Dan, do you agree that that's how they'll start up, or do you think they'll start differently?
Broadly speaking, the only slight change I would say, but then the thing is, Arsenal are such a fluid team that they don't like. I don't think they play just one kind of position. But the only slight thing I would say is maybe have a partner in the middle, so you have the three midfields and then Odegaard on the right. But broadly speaking, it's very similar. And yeah, starting 11 would be the same. Because I forgot that Nketiah was injured, so I would play Trossard instead.
Cool. So that's that when it comes to this. Should we talk about how we can win or how we don't lose 7-0 first?
I think let's start with the defensive work, because I think that's going to be more key, and I think it's easier to replicate from what I've seen in other games compared to the attack. Because the attack, I think, against Arsenal, especially this season, you need a bit of luck to in the attack to get a goal.
Definitely. So I'll take you through what I believe will happen first, and then Dan will take you through his thoughts as well after. Confusion starts to set in to Rich's face as he looks at the screen, clearly. So Arsenal attack in a very similar way to Man City, where they'll shift over to more of a three at the back with the two midfielders, with Zinchenko or Ben White, depending on which side the ball's on, shifting into the midfield position. Odegaard comes to a slightly more right-sided role, and Xhaka moves up to a more left-sided role. That's mainly bearing on what foot they are. For example, Odegaard's right-footed and Xhaka's left-footed, so it was easy for them to get crosses into the box. They really love to stretch the play as much as possible. Saka and Martinelli will always hug the wing, and Trossard, obviously as a striker, he'll be up top, but he does like to make some diagonal runs. I'll start off by talking about one thing that is going to be a big issue for us, and something that we really need to keep on top of, is a situation. Let me get the ball, because for some reason, when me and Dan do this, we always forget to put the ball in. If we are in a situation like this, where Zinchenko has the ball, obviously Ahmad will come and, he'll press him, make sure he doesn't take that ball. But what Xhaka will do is he'll drop. That will bring Decore here. That is where the diagonal runs of the striker will come into play. Trossard will make that run. And it's a very simple over-the-top through ball. And then instantly we're in trouble. Anson will shift over, Gay will shift over, but then instantly you get this sort of overload into the box. It's sort of like one player drags, the other one fills in the space in behind. And it's a very well-known tactic that most teams do use these days. But when you've got people of the caliber of Trossard, Odegaard and Saka, it's very hard to stop it, even if you can see it coming from a mile away. Also, very similar to Man City, the use of the half space and the vertical passing. I hope you're smiling over there, Dan, because I can't see you right now. But I'm not going to draw the lines like I did last week, because I think that confused even myself. But this space in between our fullbacks, very important that we need to keep very tight, because if they have a lot of space to maneuver with the ball, to get the ball and turn, we're going to have problems, because there's been many occasions where Xhaka's had the ball, he's dropped off slightly, he's had the ball, 1, 2, 3, all in his crossing line. Oh. Yeah, basically that. It's hard to defend against these guys because they have basically play 5 up front. So Decore is most likely going to have to be sitting in that back line for most of the game, because we're not going to be doing much defending, in my opinion. I'm not going to be doing much attacking, in my opinion. But there's many other ways that they can do this. Ramsdale can hit a good pass out wide to Saka or Martinelli, which is another thing we have to worry about. So Klein and Mitchell have to be on their guard. Mainly, the best way to defend against someone in the air is getting in front of the defender. However, we know that these guys aren't that good at defending in the air, so it's a very high possibility that they'll misjudge the ball. It will bounce behind them, and Saka's gone. And Mitchell's good sometimes. He's having a bit of a rotter of a season so far, but if Saka's away and running, Mitchell ain't getting back there to defend. Partey in midfield, he runs the show. I think that if we're going to have any success in dominating midfield, we're going to have to shut down the two midfielders that come up, i.e. the left or the right back plus Partey, because this guy runs the show much like what Rodri does for Man City, because they do play very similar, but the calibre of player in Arsenal is slightly lower than at Man City, but they have the momentum right now, so they are going to be looking to absolutely kill us to get these 3 points to keep City behind them in the title race.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that was pretty spot on, actually, from an attacking point of view, and that's exactly what I got as well. Like the three at the back, and then the full back then tucking into the middle, like coming inverted, and then using that wide attack to really exploit those half spaces and just moving around. Yeah, no, I completely agree. One thing I was disappointed with though, JC. I can't believe you didn't take the opportunity to say shut down the party. Come on.
So, as you can see over here, if Schlupp and a Hamada run straight through party, they can Schlupp down the party. And also he's injury prone, so if you can Polax him, then he's gone.
Richard's removed himself.
All right, Dan, take us through it.
Right. What was I going to say? I've forgotten what I was going to say now. Yeah. Right. So in terms of
Dan, do better next time, please. That's shocking.
I improved his joke.
Right. First things first. Apologies. I forgot that Nketiah was not around, and let's assume that Schlupp is the one that's available. The way we defend this is, and this is exactly the way that Burnley did it against Arsenal, and Burnley limited them to an XG of 0.9. So what that means is, in terms of adding all the shots that they had together, in terms of the quality of chance, theoretically, they wouldn't even have scored a goal. Theoretically. Obviously, it doesn't work like that in practice, but theoretically, they wouldn't have scored enough to actually score a goal. So Burnley, you Sean Dyche being part of Burnley, Everton actually fully deserved to win that game as well. It wasn't like they got lucky or anything like that. They actually fully deserved to win that game. And watching back that game, Calvert-Lewin actually had a chance at he really, really should have scored it. But yeah, so the way we do it is, I think we should play with the three in midfield. Very similar to JC. So in attack, it would look like this. You have your 4-3-3. But when they actually come to defend, your 4-5-1. And this is something that we did last season very, very well. In fact, yeah, it works. Like, we had the 5th best XG against in the entire league. So not even like the 5th best outside the top 6, literally the 5th best by playing like this. The only difference is that we had Maka playing where Schlupp is, and Hamada, Gallagher would have been there, and we would have had Koyate in the middle. But besides that, is literally the same players as well. And the reason why this is good is because, so let's say we have these players over here like this. So we have these players in these half spaces here. Now let's say that wait, where's white gone? White can go, let's do it this way around. So party can go here, white goes there, and then I'll have the 3 at the back here. So let's say they've got the ball here, right? And Thomas Partey's got the ball. What I think is really good about his formation is that it blocks these half spaces. Because if say you had the 4-4-2, okay, so you got your 4-4-2 like this. I don't think this is a bad formation, but I'll show you what I mean by I think it's not necessarily the best in terms of defense. These spaces here, these half spaces in between the players. So you got this one here, and then another one over here. So effectively the gap in between the centre back and the full back. You've got those that, you know, Xhaka's going to stand there, Erdegaard's going to stand there, and they're gonna do that for days. Or they'll give it to Martinelli. Everyone will be shift over, and then somehow they'll just whip it around via Thomas Partey or someone over to Saka, and then Saka's got a one-on-one against Mitchell. Now, the reason why the 5, I think, works in midfield is because that stops that. So, got Zaha there, Schlupp, Decore, Elise. Not Elise. Ahmad are there, and Edouard up front. Now, what Burnley did, which was really good, was that let's say they fought
Burnley or Everton.
Everton. Sorry. Okay, I'm so used to Sean Dyche being at Burnley. I keep saying Burnley. I've got Burnley in my head now. Right, Everton. Right. So what they're very good is because they packed this midfield, right? They've effectively passed all these blocking lanes to Trossard, to Erdegaard, to Xhaka, right? They've blocked it. So what that forces them to do, it forces them to kind of break this a little bit, and it kind of forced them out wide to try and use the wings. Now, what was really good was that when you have this here, and the winger comes out to meet Zinchenko, for example, what they would then do because of this gap here, Xhaka would then drop. But then, and this is where the 4-4-2 wouldn't have worked. You have Ahamada over here to cover Xhaka, so that if they do pass it to Xhaka, all he's got to go to, if we do it right, if we kind of stand Edouard there, he can go to Partey, but then Edouard's on him straight away. He can go to White, but then again at the same time we just shift over. And they did that all game. Whenever one of these players dropped, this sided midfielder would follow them, and they would use Calvert-Lewin to block the midfielder, whether that was Partey or the fullback that's now come inside. And what that meant was that they just basically took longer to go around. And like I said, Everton have they limited them to 0.9 xg. And if I'm going to read out some of them, some of Arsenal's stats to show you how truly impressive that strategy was. So Arsenal have the second most goals per 90, 2.19. The second most XG per 90, 1.93. So the amount of chances that they create. Non-penalty XG per 90, second best. They've got the second best goals conceded at per 90. Sorry, joint second best. Equal with Man City. The best is Newcastle. In terms of conceding chances, best again per 90. Possession, they've got 60% of it in the league. Shots, they have 16.5 shots, which is the most in the league. They concede the second fewest. They complete the most passes per 90 into the box. They complete the second most carries per 90 into the box. They also have scored more goals than their XG suggests that they should have scored, which suggests that either their players have finished very, very well, or the opposition goalkeepers haven't haven't saved the ones they should have. But having seen some of the goals they've scored this season, I think it's the former. I think they've just been on fire with their finishing, so they're on hot form. They also have the third. This one surprised me, and considering they have 60% possession, it's really impressive. They have the third most tackles in the opposition. Sorry, in their attacking third than any other team in the league. Which, like I said, considering they don't have the ball only 40% of the game, that's a lot to be third outright. They've also scored
from the front.
Yeah, for sure. And they've also scored the second most corners in the league this season as well. Only Spurs have scored more. So considering all of those attacking stats that I've just read out, I know some of them are defensive, but some of those attacking stats, the fact that Everton were able to create 1.7 XG and concede only 0.9 against Arsenal, I think is really impressive. And the way they did it was by doing what I said, having that 5 in midfield and making sure the wider centre mids are tracking Ødegaard and Partey and using our striker as that defensive mechanism to either put the midfielder under pressure, the central midfielder under pressure, or cut the passing lane to the other one. But yeah, defensively, that's what I think we should do.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, of course.
So obviously we've just recently played City, where they had one of their fullbacks playing in centre mid. Now, obviously, Zinchenko does that a lot for Arsenal. Would it mean that we just kind of defend similarly how we defended against City, or would we have to play a different defensive?
I think we have to play slightly differently, mainly because City don't hit the long ball as much as Arsenal do. So, for example, Partey will pick up the ball and hit the long ball into the half space. And what will happen is Ødegaard will make the run, Partey will hit the ball, and as he's running, he'll run out wide. So then as the ball comes to him, he'll be in front of Mitchell, for example, and then Mitchell will have to track the guy, and then Saka will run on. So it's like a flick on into free space. Whereas Man City would much rather pass it through. So they'd much rather go from Rodri into Silva and then into Gundogan or something. So they'd rather make a triangle of passes rather than hitting the one ball and getting a flick on. So I think that Arsenal are much more direct, because I think a high percentage of the goals has been from they press, they pick up the ball and they strike really quickly, rather than Man City will get the ball, recycle it and then work it forwards. But Arsenal will hit you as fast as they can.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Like Arsenal's press. I wouldn't say Arsenal's press is particularly like complicated. It's a pretty straightforward press, but it's the ferocity that they go with it.
Yeah, it's very intense.
Yeah, it's very intense. It's not like massively technical, but like it's just very intense, and it will force your goalkeepers to just hit it long.
Yeah, it reminds me a little bit of like Klopp when he had that really good Liverpool season, where his front three just ran at everyone and everything. They chased everything down. It's very similar to that. Yeah,
for sure. What do you think about in terms of us going forwards? Because I think that's how we could do it defensively. I think the attacking side was definitely a lot more difficult to try and figure out.
Yeah. So when it comes to the attacking side, I think that the best way to see how we can attack them is to see how they defend. And they like to defend in a 4-4-2, which is a bit strange, in my opinion, because to defend, they push another player up. But that does mean that these two are pressing everything up here pretty much. And this is why they get so many counter-attack goals, even though they do have a majority of possession in both games. Because if they can win the ball, they have two outlets. Normally a team only has one, which can be shut down by one centre-back, but they always have two outlets. I think, and another thing that we can definitely capitalise on is that they make very risky passes to try and get to the opposition goal as fast as possible, which leaves it very open for interceptions. And I think an interception and a breakaway is probably our highest chance of scoring, similar to how Zaha got his offside goal at Villa. But if he can hold his run and we can do something similar, then I really don't see why we can't score against them that way. Also, dribbling from deep. I think the best example that I can remember of is probably Schlupp. I'm going to reference the goal he scored against Bournemouth. I know he came from left back, but his run started from a very similar position to here, where Partey and Xhaka, they are very good at tackling when someone's running, when someone's dribbling towards them. But the difference is that they don't pick up very many yellows, which probably tell me that they will not go for most 50-50s. Mainly because Partey is so injury prone that if we give him a 50-50, there's probably a doubt in his head that he's not going to go for it, just because he's concerned that he might get injured for a very long time again. And if Schlupp can run at him with the same intensity that he did in that Bournemouth goal, I wouldn't say he'd run past him, but I'm sure that Partey will think twice before putting a foot in. And that's something they struggle with, dribblers. And I think that where Rich said about the Eze shout, that could be very vital for us later on in the game rather than starting. Because when they start to tire, and when you're tired, you're not thinking completely straight. If you get Eze dribbling at someone, and as you said, Rich, very unpredictable dribbler, he can cause a lot of problems later on in the game. But I think just for our defensive solidity, to try and not lose in the first half and then go for it in the second half, for example, I think that Schlupp would be the better option here. But he can still give you that attacking output with this diagonal run here. Also, because they have always two outlets, it means that we've always got an overload in the attacking half. But we only have an overload if the DM pushes up. If Decore steps up and can cut out loose passes, can make triangles with players, we're going to be in a good way to pin Arsenal back. Because as long as we pass safely and we don't do anything stupid, with an overload, theoretically, we shouldn't lose the ball when passing. But it's Crystal Palace. We're going to lose the ball. We've got people like Schlupp passing. So it is what it is. But in my opinion, I think our main asset when we're in possession is an over-the-top through ball to a diagonal pass. To a diagonal run. An example of that would probably be... Where's my ball? I lost it again. Where is it? There we go. I think a perfect example would be this. Zaha makes that run in there. And Decore whips something like that. So if Zaha gets the ball and he gets swarmed, if he passes it out to anyone, makes the run in behind, that ball can come in. Same thing for Edouard, same for Elise. I think with Elise, it's a little bit harder to do because he's so one-dimensional. You can very easily block off the inside run and he'll just run into the defender because he's not going to go his right foot. But other than those ways, counter-attack, interception of a stray pass, diagonal balls, honestly, it's a very good system. And I think even though we are attacking, we still need to be alert because of the two outlets. It's a big plus for them because if they break, let's say ball comes through to Trossard and Odegaard's on his bike, let's say these guys switch off or if he gets in front, the closer you get to the goal, it's going to be one of them situations where they're going to be two people in front of the defenders, in front of the goal. Gaeta's probably going to do what every goalkeeper does, go towards the ball, pass, goal. So even though to beat them in the attack, you need to commit people forwards, but you can't go too gung-ho because 2 outlets can always smell trouble on a counter-attack.
Definitely. And the thing is, they've got the capability all across the pitch to just be able to pick out that pass as well.
Yeah, because Xhaka's done it, Partey's done it, Zinchenko sometimes is even the one which is the outlet. He'll overlap sometimes as well. Yeah,
no, for sure. Just wanted to show like my pictures I did because I realised I didn't show them. But so this was one example of how of the defensive back line. And then this was another example. So in this particular example, Saka's got the ball. He's then had to pass it to who's that, number 4, Ben White. And then he's passed that then to Thomas Partey. But they're not like, because normally Saka would want to pass that to Ødegaard, who's the one in between the 4 players nearest to us. He wanted to pass to him, but because he's got so many players around him, they don't do that. And that's just kind of what I wanted to do, just to show. And what I liked about your, in terms of attacking, JC, is that we could do something similar to what Arsenal do. Arsenal like to make the squares. And I noticed on your thing, there was 2 squares there with Decore. One square would be Decore, Ahamada, Edouard, and Elise. Yeah. And then there'll be the other square would be on the other side. So Decore,
Schlupp and Zaha instead.
Schlupp and Zaha instead. Because what they do, I mean, effectively a square is 2 triangles. That's why they do it. And this is just a demonstration just to show you like how it kind of works. So I can't remember who that is in the middle there. Let's say it's Ødegaard. Ødegaard's passed it to
Nketiah, no?
I think so, yeah, to Nketiah. And then he's then passed it straight back to Thomas Partey, and then they're laughing, and especially with players like that, they're able to do that one touch pass, and kind of just pass it around you in that sense. But I think if we have some of our players are capable of doing this, and I know that because I've seen them do it. Yeah. Maybe not as consistently as Arsenal do, but we are capable. We are capable of keeping the ball. In fact, when we played Arsenal this season, we actually had more of the ball than they did. So we are capable of doing it. One thing I did think in terms of, there was 2 things I thought in terms of Arsenal that we could do. Firstly was, I don't know how you feel about this, but this is what I think is their kind of idea of gegenpress. Which, when I say gegenpress, what it means is like you're positioned when you're attacking or your team has the ball, you're positioned in a kind of position that if they were to make a pass and lose it, you would be able to win the ball again relatively quickly, if that makes sense. So, for example, they're attacking this goal. They got Ben White and Zinchenko near enough, their fullback standing in the box, or near enough on the box. So that I think they've done this because Granit Xhaka's on the ball there, if he wants to have a shot or tries to make a pass and they lose the ball, then that ball is going to come relatively quickly. If that comes out to the edge of the box, that comes out to one of those 3 players.
Yeah.
I mean, if it goes to the wings, that's not too bad in their sense because if you're pinging the ball to the right or left there, one, you don't have any play. I can't remember who it's Man United. So Man United won't have any players on the wing anyway. So by the time they actually get to the wing, it's going to take so long that Arsenal could just reset defensively. But if they lose the ball and they have to lump it long, then their 2 centre backs, Saliba and Malagaints, they're going to be in a position where they can just recycle it, pass it back to Ramsdale, whatever, start again. Or if it comes to the edge of the box, then they've got 3 players there who can feasibly try to do something with it, whether they need to recycle it or whether they have another shot or pass it or whatever. However, that said, and again, here's another example of it here. That said, if you get the ball, say in the middle here, so I don't know, let's say you win the ball. Now, I know we moan about lumping it long and all that kind of stuff, but I think because you only have Gabriel and Saliba there, if you're able to leave one or two of our players out there, I think that similarly to what you just said, Arsenal do with Ødegaard and Trossard, I don't see why that's not something that we could capitalise on. Possibly, we have to be brave, but I think it comes to that kind of weighing up of, do you want to go really defensive or do you want to try and commit to attack? It's a risk at the end of the day. Do you know what
Definitely.
I mean? There was
you also have some Palace for good parts as well.
Oh yeah. So in the game against, right? So let me just. So the first one, I'm going to do the most shocking one first. Natty Klein overlapping in the first game of the season. So do you want to play a little game? Guess how long it took to go from picture 1 to picture 2. So that's Jordan Ayew receiving the pass from, I can't remember who it was. I think it was Eze in the middle. Jordan Ayew, Natty Klein's at the bottom there. You could just about see his head. And this is the second picture. Guess what the time difference was between those two pictures?
5 seconds.
About a minute, knowing Natty. It takes forever to get bomb forward.
5 seconds. 5 seconds. So why we're now in a position where Natty Klein doesn't do that anymore, I don't know. But these are the kind of things that cause Arsenal trouble. Again, we actually, I can't remember the exact figures off the top of my head, but we actually made more XG than Arsenal did in that game. So we actually, theoretically, in that sense, we actually deserve to win that game. So why we don't do that now, I don't know. But again, that's something I think that we can do that is going to hurt Arsenal. Again, another one. Look how many players forward we've got. And this is, I can't remember exactly what point in the game this was. I think it was, I can't remember. But look how many players we've got in that position. That's another thing that we need to do.
It shows that with commitment, like how many Arsenal players is that running back? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then there's probably 2 more as well.
Yeah, exactly.
We're causing problems. And look, you can see Eze's got tons of room. Ayew's got loads of room. If Edouard pulls out a bit, he's got a bit more room as well. So
exactly.
If Schlupp looks up, he's got many options. Also, Zaha's probably making a run towards the corner flag. So he's got options there if we commit, but we don't commit anymore. That's the problem.
Well, this is it. And it shows you that it shows you in a snapshot, like we can get an overload against Arsenal on the wings. Like you can see Ty there. Ty is the furthest one there where the E is on the soccer. You got Schlupp's on the ball there. If Zaha, like you say, makes that run to the corner flag, theoretically, that's a 3v2 overload. Yeah. So, and that's what we did brilliantly last season, did brilliantly in this game, but for whatever reason, we've just stopped doing that now. And again, another thing that we stopped doing, like you said, like you pointed out, Eze's there. Eze attacking the space that we've created by all these players running towards the goal. What was another one? So these are all called when Palace were good, by the way. When Palace were good, number 2. This is just another example. Look how many players we've got. Eze's on the ball there. Look how many players we've got around him. If he turns around, you've got someone on the wing. You got Schlupp making a driving run through. Okay, he's offside, but he wasn't when earlier on. You got Decore just to the left of Eze there. You got Natty Klein there. Jordan Ayew isn't even on the picture. That's how far wide he is. So these are all things that we've shown that we've done against a very good Arsenal team. Like you could argue, okay, maybe Arsenal weren't as good then, but it's still exactly the same players. I looked at the lineup for that game, and Arsenal's players, apart from Trossard, it was basically the same.
So just quick question on that: does Zinchenko and White, do they tuck in naturally when defending?
Not defending. Only in attack. When they're defending, like JC said, it's like 2 banks of 4. So Ben White will still be like a right back then, and Zinchenko will still be like a left back. But that's what I mean. If we got 3 players on that wing, we very conceivably could have an overload against the 2. I do think like Saka does do very well defensively. I think having watched some of the games back. This is another one. This is Decore on the ball. He actually passes it to Eze, who's the one there in orange boots. He actually does that vertical pass to Eze right there.
Straight through the line.
Straight through the line. See, that's what we need. And the thing is, I'm not like making this up. Like, this isn't like stuff that I think we should do. This is stuff that we have done this season against Arsenal. So, yeah. Another one. Just look how many players we got on the ball there. So I think Thomas Partey won the ball, and then he's then passed it to, I think that's Zinchenko, and he's had to like turn inside to get away from us. But look at that mid pitch block that we've got there. Around him, we've got Schlupp, Zaha. Okay, Decore is kind of in the area. Edward will come in further in.
Like he's coming in as well.
Yeah, exactly. Like we've got that press there, and for whatever reason, we just don't do it anymore. And I don't know why. It's a shame. It's a shame. But those are all things, like I said, that we have done this season against Arsenal in a game where we actually statistically created more chances than they did. In terms of the defending, we didn't do a 5 in midfield, but it wasn't that dissimilar. Eze just kind of tucked in a little bit deeper, so it wasn't that dissimilar to playing a 5 really. And yeah, there's JC. Did you want to say anything else? I've got one more idea on how we could trouble them attacking wise, and then that's me out.
No, I gave you everything when I talked about it.
All right.
So can I ask a question before you do that last bit then?
Yeah, of course.
So just obviously listen to everything you've been saying and stuff. Obviously, that was the first game of the season. Mm-hmm. And obviously, they've brought in a few, we've brought in a few. How different would it be? Because obviously, you may have to take form into this. Like they've swept the floor with Fulham and such. Would it be likely that we actually mirror that first game of the season? But I thought we played relatively well. We were very unlucky in that game.
I think if we continue playing the rest of the season like we had in that Arsenal game, I don't think we would be in this position, to be honest. I think for some reason, we're just not doing those things anymore. I don't know why. Because all of those players that played, like, I mean, with the exception of maybe swapping, I know where he can't play, but maybe swapping Schlupp for someone, everyone else in that, I think, deserved to be playing that game. Maybe Elise for RHEA or something like that. But like, even though we've got more personnel, the system for some reason has changed over the season. I think had we continued playing like we did against Arsenal, we wouldn't. Don't get me wrong, I don't think we would be as good as perhaps. I don't think we'd be like top 8 or anything like that, but we'd definitely not be looking down. I don't think. I think we would be looking at a comfortable mid-table season, happy with that. Good job, move on. Maybe beat Southampton in the FA Cup and actually get to a quarter-final. Something like that. I think Arsenal, whilst Arsenal have obviously improved, and like I've said in previous streams, I think there's something in football that you can't ever account for in stats, and that's momentum. The fact that Arsenal are chasing that title, the fact that everything they've been doing this season has pretty much gone very well for them. I know they've lost the odd game here and there, but momentum is such a big thing. And when we also haven't won a game since December, regardless of who you play, I think that is quite a demoralising thing anyway. Like, that's that momentum shift. So I don't see it. Even if it was literally the same players playing that same game, I think Arsenal would probably overturn us a bit more, because I think the system has changed. I think our players have seemingly lost some sort of initiative to actually press and actually find space and actually do overlapping like I showed in those pictures. I think they've lost the initiative to do that. So no, I don't. I think it's changed in that sense for sure. Which is a shame.
Definitely. Score predictions. I'll start with you, Reg.
So it's difficult to call because obviously this is pre-Brighton. 3-1 Arsenal.
Dan?
I'm going to go 2-0 Arsenal.
I don't know, because we have turned up and shocked at the Emirates a few times in the last few years. I'm going off of that we're going to have a good game against Brighton. I'm saying it's going to be 2-2. I think that the fact that they have loose passes and that Decore is a master of sweeping up a loose pass and passing it on quickly, I reckon that we could get in behind and do some damage. And before we round out, Rich, is there any questions you want to ask about anything we talked about today that you didn't understand or you want to ask our opinion of?
No, to be fair, I asked what I just needed to like throughout the show, but like, yeah, those stats. I'm still, like I said, getting used to them. But no, great show, guys. Like, appreciate you having me on the show and just learning more about XGs. And those clips, those images were quality, by the way, Dan.
Thank you. I only just thought about doing them today, so that's something I want to include more in the future streams. Definitely.
Cool. Yeah. Obviously, guys, like, share, subscribe, turn the bell notification on for when we do premieres, streams, or whatever. I think the merch link is down below, as always. Check out the socials, and yeah, we'll be here for the next Tactical. Check out Thursday or Friday or whenever the preview is for the Arsenal match, and we'll definitely be doing a review for the Arsenal match because it's international break. So, from me, Dan, and Rich, we're out up the Palace.
Eagles.